Becky and I walked through our park, and I happened to notice as we were walking how many of these twigs had fallen and formed a cross. So it was actually the next day that I went out and retraced and actually took these photographs. And these are all just natural twigs that fell on about a 5-foot wide sidewalk in Parkville. So it was just like, wow. And probably, I don't know, what is it, maybe 50 yards of sidewalk? And I like that last one because it was like, that looks like a check mark to me. And it made me think, it is finished. It's done. Well, the reason that all caught my attention is because we had been reading through the end of Exodus and the beginning of Leviticus, and there's so much of that text that is filled with mental pictures and images that are there for a reason. And a lot of times I think perhaps that we tend to miss some of the significance of those mental pictures, those images. And especially this one. You know, we get into this description of the tabernacle, and it's tedious, it's repetitive, and maybe we lose some of the power of what actually is there. You know what's amazing is that in one verse, God described the whole creation process. One verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Period. And then he took 2 chapters to explain how that happened. But he takes 15 chapters to explain the construction of the tabernacle. And then he takes 27 more chapters to explain and describe the actions around that tabernacle. Which do you think ought to grab our attention more? There's something in the construction of this tabernacle. There's something in all that surrounds this tent that should grab us. There's something in the imagery that God intended for us to get. And I don't know all of what's there. But here's what I want you to process. Here's what I process this time. Everything that is described here is God's attempt to connect with his people. Again, we read through this Levitical instruction manual, and it looks to us like commands for humanity. But process it this way. God is wanting to connect to his people, and here's how he says it can happen. Actually, that will be some of the discussion we'll have tonight. So you have the afternoon to ponder on God's connecting. The task of the tabernacle was so significant that God just didn't leave it up to human ingenuity, to human ability even. We actually will read, and Chris referenced this earlier, we'll read about the fact that there were certain men, this Bezalel, that God said he filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, and in all kinds of craftsmanship. Many a time when I have made the wrong cut, sanded incorrectly, put the wrong finish on, I wish God had filled me with some extra wisdom. This guy had a tremendous blessing. We would read farther on here, and it'll say, and he put in the hearts of all who were skillful, I have put the skill, that they may make all that I have commanded you. God left this instruction, and then he gave the ability to do it. That's how badly he longed to connect with these people, not leaving any of this up to happenstance. This morning, I want to draw your attention to some articles of furnishing in the tabernacle. Not all of them. The ones I want us to think about this morning, I think, have the unique properties of representing, again, the extremes that God went to connect with his people. How much he loves us. Furnishings are really important, aren't they? I think probably every married couple has stories about their first home furnishings. I see lots of smiles, so there's people that are processing that. Before Becky and I were married, I actually drove school bus while I was attending York. I would go around to abandoned farmhouses and inquire as if there were any items left around that I could purchase very reasonably or free would be better. There was one house that was abandoned, actually boarded up in the Depression, and the people left it fully furnished. The couple had moved to Lincoln. Their last name was Comstock. I came and visited the Comstocks. They told me, if there's anything in that house you want, you can have it. I'm thinking, oh my goodness. Went back, went into the house, but I wasn't the first one that had been in the house. Others had come in and totally vandalized, just broken everything to pieces. Every bedroom had the huge, tall bed frames broken to pieces. The living room had 2 or 3 gliding rockers, piano broken to pieces. The kitchen had a wooden high chair broken to pieces. There was the corner secretary broken to pieces. Everything in the house had been broken, except I did find a thunder mug that was fine. Yes, we still have it.
What?
I'll talk to you later, Ron. On the back porch was the old ice cooler. It had sat out in the elements for 40-some years. One leg had rotted. I had to replace that. Other than that, it was fine. So our first furnishings were this old beat-up ice box that I had refinished, some old wood stove I painted black, sat in a corner. And I don't know how we got the Duncan Fife couch. We recovered a Duncan Fife couch. I mean, we were in hog heaven. Things were going pretty well until my dad's aunt passed away. And somehow we inherited some green lamps. And neither one of us cherished green. But from that moment on, the rest of our home furnishings had to go with the lamps. And so for years, we had green. Furnishings are important. The furnishings that God puts in his house are really significant. It's interesting to me that most of us furnish our homes. God built his house around the furniture. The instructions about the furniture precede the instructions about building the tent. God built the house around the furnishings. Now that's the first thing we need to pay attention to. God furnished the home that he would invite mankind to dwell in with him in great simplicity. We're going to look at 3 items that I think just show the heart of God in this whole process. We're going to look at the ark, the table, and the lampstand. First of all, the ark. Let's read about its construction in Exodus 25. And they shall construct the ark of acacia wood and 2.5 cubits long, and 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. And you shall overlay it with pure gold. Inside and out you shall overlay it. And you shall make a gold molding around it, and you shall cast 4 gold rings for it, and fasten them into 4 feet. And 2 rings shall be on one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side of it. And you shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark with them. The poles shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be removed from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you. And you shall make a mercy seat of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, make them of hammered work at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. And 1 cherub at one end and 1 cherub at the other. And you shall make the cherubim of one piece with the mercy seat at its 2 ends. And the cherubim shall have their wings spread upward, covering the mercy seat, and their wings and facing one another. The faces of the cherubim are to be turned inward to the mercy seat, and you shall put the mercy seat on top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony which I shall give to you. And there I will meet with you. And from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim, which are upon the ark of the testimony, I will speak to you about all that I give you in commandment for the sons of Israel. Let's notice some things about this ark. First of all, the metallurgy of God's connection. It's supposed to be pure gold, not just on the outside, but on the inside. It's supposed to be a border that's built out of gold. This thing is extremely precious. That would remind us perhaps of passages like Psalm chapter 19. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever, and the ordinances of the Lord are sure and altogether righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. What we have from God is much more precious than gold. We would also notice of the ark, there's an intended mobility with this presence of God's connections. The poles are for carrying the ark, but they are to remain in the ark. I want you to process what it means, how much God longs to connect with you. He desires that purely, and he desires that with great mobility. He doesn't say, I'm just going to connect with you when you sit in a church building. He says, I'm going to connect with you when you're in the hospital, when you're on hospice. I'm going to connect with you because I'm mobile in my connection. I'm mobile in what I desire to do for you. They are never removed. Psalm 139. Where can I go from thy spirit? Or where can I flee from thy presence? If I ascend to the heaven, thou art there. And if I make my bed in Sheol, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of dawn, if I dwell in the remotest part of the sea, even there thy hand will lead me. God's connection with us is totally mobile. We can never escape it. Can't get away from it. Folks, that's marvelous. That's not fearful. That's wonderful. God longs to connect with us that strongly. Even the darkness is not dark to thee, and the night is as bright as the day. That's how much God longs to connect. So we have the precious, pure gold. We have the mobility. But there's also the message of connection. God lets them know that, that He's going to have them include in this ark the covenant of the law, which He will give. Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around the sinners, or join in the mockers, but they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. God says, I have instruction. I want to connect with you. I'm going to give you instruction. And when you meditate on this day and night, it becomes a blessing to you. You gain strength to not follow after the wicked. I would also notice that the ark shows the mercy of God's connection. There's discussion of an atonement cover. And by the way, folks, that's the only way any of us can ever connect with God, is by being atoned. Because we are sinful creatures. We cannot connect with the holy God. So God says, I want to connect with you so badly, I'm going to make a place of atonement, of mercy, so that I can still connect with you. The cherubim have their wings spread upward, perhaps almost in an invitation for deity to make His presence known, His mercy known to humanity. And God said, there I will meet with you and give you all my commands for the Israelites. That's the place where I'm going to meet you. Peter will write, blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to His great mercy has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to obtain an inheritance which is imperishable, undefiled, and will not fade away, reserved in heaven for you who are protected by the power of God through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. God has extended to us His mercy seat. So the first article of furnishing representing God's loving desire to connect with us is that ark. But there's also the table. We read about its construction. And you shall make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long and 1 cubit wide and 1.5 cubits high. And you shall overlay it with pure gold and make a gold border around it. And you shall make for it a rim of handbreadth around. And you shall make a gold border for the rim around it. And you shall make 4 gold rings for it, and put rings on the 4 corners on its 4 feet. The rings shall be close to the rim as holders for the poles to carry the table. And you shall make the poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold, so that with them the table may be carried. And you shall make its dishes and its pans and its jars and its bowls, which are to pure libations. And you shall make them of pure gold. And you shall set the bread of the presence on the table before me at all times. The table. What greater symbolism of connection than a table? You think about moments around tables that have changed your life. It's one thing to sit in a comfortable easy chair, but when you sit in a table, at a table, usually you're indulging the flesh a little bit around that table. But think of how many times God's Word gets opened on a table. Think of how many times discussions take place around a table. Here's God saying, I want to connect with you, and I want to furnish my place with a table. Notice again the purity of the table. Why? Because this table represents a place of justification. It represents a place of gathering and meeting with God. through the fire that sanctifies it. Again, Peter writes, "Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal among you, which comes upon you for your testing, as though some strange thing were happening to you. But to the degree that you share in the sufferings of Christ, keep on rejoicing." The purity of this table took place through a heated process. The purity of our lives as we sit at that table takes place through the testing process that Peter describes. So the table was pure. We notice again, the table is portable. It's made to move. God says, I take this place of comfort, this place of feasting, wherever we need to go. You will never go hungry. Jesus said, "I'm the bread of life, and if you eat of me, what? You'll never go hungry," because God's table will always go with. All that this furnishing represents was never static or was never set. The table also has some prophetic content involved in it. There were to be different vessels that were contained in this. There was also to be the bread of the presence. We've already studied some in our discussion as we've gone through that God sent his presence before Israel as they wandered through the wilderness. His presence representing Christ, the rock that led them. And so here is a table for feasting, a table for purification, a table for sanctification. And what is the essence of what is on that table? It is the presence of Jesus. It's the sanctification of Jesus. Jesus is our guiding presence. He is and was the bread of life. Exodus 33 is where we read this, "My presence shall go with you, and I will give you rest." And then Moses said to God, if your presence does not go with us, then do not lead us up from here. Isaiah will write, "And the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his mercy, he redeemed them." Hence, the bread of presence would represent God's mercy, his love, his salvation. John will record Jesus' words, "I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness and they died. This is the bread which comes down out of heaven so that one may eat of it and not die. I am the living bread that has come down out of heaven. If anyone eats this bread, he shall live forever." The table that God sets, the table of God's connectivity with us, is a table that is spread with a feast that if we eat of it, we will never die. We will live forever. So we have the ark. We have a table. The third piece of furniture that I want us to consider is the lampstand. The construction of it, according to Exodus 25, "Then you shall make a lampstand of pure gold, and the lampstand and its base and its shaft are to be made of hammered work. Its cups, its bulbs, and its flowers shall be of one piece with it. And 6 branches shall go out from its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand from its one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand from its other side. 3 cups shall be shaped like almond blossoms in the one branch, a bulb and a flower, and 3 cups shaped like an almond blossom in the other branch, a bulb and a flower. So for 6 branches going out from the lampstand, and in the lampstand 4 cups shaped like almond blossoms, its bulbs and its flowers. And a bulb shall be under the first pair of branches coming out of it, and a bulb under the second pair of branches coming out of it, and a bulb under the third pair of branches coming out of it. For the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand, their bulbs and their branches shall be of one piece with it, and it shall all be of one piece of hammered work of pure gold. Then you shall make its lamps 7 in number, and they shall mount its lamps so as to shed light in the space in front of it. And its snuffers and their trays shall be of pure gold. It shall be made from a talent of pure gold with all these utensils, and see to it that you make them after the pattern for them, which was shown to you on the mountain." The lampstand. Again, we have unpolluted material. This is made of pure gold, representing again the motivation behind God's desire to connect. But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn that shines brighter and brighter until the full day, The way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. You see, this lampstand gives a light of dawn. Wicked are not going to enjoy the benefits because they don't understand the purity involved in it. There's also a unique design that's described here. First of all, the almond tree is the first tree in that section of the world to bud in the springtime. Some have suggested that when God gave the instruction to include these almond buds and flowers on this lampstand, it was, I am the first one to really give you the light to live by. Again, I am so connecting with you. I am of first importance, and what I am going to give you is going to direct your path and light your path. God is the first to watch over that lighted path. Jeremiah will say, the word of the Lord came to me saying, what do you see, Jeremiah? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. And the Lord said to me, you have seen well, for I am watching over my word to perform it. First significance, first importance. I see an almond tree. That's right, because I'm watching over things. I am the God of first. But also, the unique design is seen in the fact that there are a total of 22 almond buds on the lampstand. Significant or not, there are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, which is what God used to give his instruction to these people. Unique design. The word almond itself in the Hebrew comes from a root word which means to be alert or to be watchful. How fitting for a word, for a design to be incorporated in building that which offers the light within God's dwelling place to mean alertness and watchfulness. Solomon writes how significant it is for parents to be that kind of light, that kind of influence to their children. Bind them continually on your neck. He's talking about the teachings of God. Tie them around your neck. When you walk about, they will guide you. When you sleep, they will watch over you. When you wake, they will talk to you. For the command is a lamp, and the teaching is light, and the reproofs for discipline are the way of life. So Solomon says, when you take this lamp and you live by this lamp, when you don't let it even leave your neck, what happens is it guides you. It guides you when you sleep. It guides you when you walk. It guides you when you're awake. And it talks to you. That's the marvels of God's desire to connect. When God set up housekeeping with the Israelites, his furnishings were simple. There was going to be an ark so that he could meet with the people that he cared about, that he loved. There was going to be a table so that he could share life with the people that he longed to connect with. And there was going to be a lamp to lighten every aspect of his children's life. How complicated have you made your relationship with God? I am amazed at how simple God makes his connection with us. Do we need to simplify our connection with him? It's as simple as depending on his mercy, on his truth, on his word. It's as simple as eating of the bread of life, devouring this nourishment. It's as simple as walking in the light that God provides. On our part, God has made it very precious, very portable, very enlightening. With the Jews, he did it in the tabernacle. With us, he does it through Christ. Our tent of dwelling, our place to live. As we